morning, traders. Good morning to all the subscribers, or I should say installment payers. Just a reminder, some early next year, either January or February, we will be doing a course, a live course. So if you guys want to get in, you can arrange your payment so that by then you're actually, completing it, and then you can get into the course live with everyone. We have some new people who just joined. You don't have to hurry. Just take your time, keep paying the way you're paying, and we'll get there. So let's start. I might be putting this one out on YouTube because I promised them an update, and today is Wednesday, so I might as well give them this one as the update. Please, if I put it out, you guys go check, you'll get your notification. Make sure you like it, make sure you make a comment, and make sure it, you run it to the end at least before you put it. That might help the YouTube video the YouTube engine to spread it more. And you might help somebody else who's looking for a way to analyze the market, find this video, right? So let's please do that. Let's go. Dollar index. It's still going up and we're consolidating. So we're saying if this is going to break out, we'll go with the trade, but it didn't. It's actually coming down. So this is good because we know it's consolidated. And the mere fact that it's consolidating within that range is very good. So we kind of pull back. We're making a flag here. This is probably going to come here, maybe even go back there, come back here, and then go. I assume that we'll have some more consolidation here and then the breakout. Right? Is there a chance they can drop from there? Well, when they consolidate so much at the top, that chance comes close to zero. Right? It's very little. If we were consolidating under here, like somewhere even in here, well, yes, that chance exists. But right now it's at the top. It's at the top. So I think we're just going to continue to go up, which means we look for more buy setups. Silver dropped nicely. We're out of destruction. Remember what I said, if you're taking those small, like in our trading room yesterday, I couldn't have stressed this more. If you're taking these small ones, make sure you get out of them, move your stops, because you're going to get a bigger correction. The only way we'll confirm the downside is by making a bigger correction. Now, if this stays here and correct, we're going to drop beyond the low. So you can already calculate for this trade if we make a flatter here, and we're making a flat here. What are the chances we go back up like this, totally go back up instead of making a flat drop? So we can come into the 15 minutes and look at the structure that's forming there and said, okay, great, here's the deal. If this thing stays in consolidation at this level, we'll buy it. We'll buy it now for one more impulse up. Why one more impulse? Because it could still be 1, 2, 3, come back here like this, 1, 2, 3, and drop. Right? We know that these patterns could become like that. So in that case, you will take this trade, but you'll be cautious that maybe this is not the one that goes. But it could be the one that goes. That's the starting point. So we will take the buy. And if the buy is an ABC for another correction, another one up, great. You'll get out for break even or some small profit. But if this is the one that is going to take off like this, then what we can do is keep the trade. You can put it to break even and keep it. So we will decide when it starts to do that, what we think it's going to do. Two things. This is the first impulse. If this comes here and come here, we will buy. If it comes down here like this, we allow it to go back up and we look for the sell. So it's pretty easy. We actually did one of this yesterday in full details on all time frame, showing you that pattern, how you look at them. And that's the Eurocad. Let's go to the Eurocad, right? So we have this Eurocad, and this is actually the yearly monthly low, and we decided we have this move. This could be the start of the move to the upside. If we get a correction here, we're going to go. It actually pulled back deep, and then we saw this yesterday, and I said this looks like an expanding flat. So two things we're going to do. We're not going to buy it here. We were here, and I said we're not buying it there. Why? Because there's a chance it's going to come back here, and if it comes back here and consolidate, we will sell. We'll assume that that is all the correction. But if it comes here and go back up, we would look for a buy setup somewhere here, because we'll assume that this is a flat and we're going right back. See, that's the assumption. Why we didn't buy here? Well, that's a good thing, because you realize it's not going to go very far. What would have been the buy? What would have been the buy had it broken out of this and this was all the correction? Was break the top and make the flat. See, it's pretty simple. We have these rules set, and these rules are preventing you from getting into the trade at the wrong time at the wrong place. So now we're here. I'll take this out. This has no relevance right now because we have a flat forming here. The question is this going to take off to the upside? Or is it going to consolidate here and drop to the bottom. And then we would go with this is all the correction. It could be, I don't think so, because I don't like this here. It's not fitting into anything. I know we can make an argument for a contracting flat there or a running flat, and this is the end of it. You could make that argument, and it's probably, you know, valid, but most likely I think we're making a flat in here, right? And this is going to take off like this one. So what would be the buy setup? Actually, if you were here this morning, early enough and good enough, you could have actually bought it here. I don't know if any one of you guys were here at that point in time. That could have been a buy. Why? Simple again. It's either a 1, 2, 3 and it's going to drop, maybe a 4 and a 5 and then drop, or it's taking off right now. Now you can't buy it because now you don't have the chance for break even. If you took this trade here, on the break of this stop, you can literally either put the stop here or put the stop here, assuming that this would continue to go. What if it's making a small one to drop? I think that's a very small one. We can sell it. Literally, if this starts to drop, we can put a sell here and go with this sell. Right? If it drops. If it's not going to drop, they'll just consolidate, go consolidate, go. I think we would have to wait for a bigger consolidation in the 1 hour. Right? So what I would like to see for us to buy is that this actually moves away from the low, make a flag here, and then this, once we move away sharp enough, any flag here would be a buy to the top. And then assume that this would break out, because it could still come here and come back down here and come here and come back down here and then eventually break out. But the assumption is that this one is going to break out and we will take that trade. It looks more like a flat for upside than a correction for downside. At least at this moment, that's what it looks like. So come back to the dollar index. Pretty much the same thing, a smaller version of the same thing. Let's see if we get that trade set up. It's coming down. I don't think we want to sell. It's very small. You wouldn't have good risk to reward. If you really want to take it, it's pretty risky. You will have to have the skill level to do that in the 5 minutes. Right? If you have that skill level, you don't need me to tell you what to do. So let's go back to the 1 hour. Let it consolidate and then we look for the buy. Silver. Oh, we were at silver, sorry. Now we finished dollar index. Yeah, silver. So we would wait for this, and if we get a flag here, we're going to buy. If it comes lower and make a flat, we will sell. So this was a sell. I think we actually even sold it here in the 5 minutes or the 15 minutes yesterday. There was a sell in there, which I showed if you want to take it. There was a running flat, perfect running flat, not even the second one. It was the first one, this one, and this one. And I say you could put an entry order here and you could put a stop here and you can go for one more down. Right? Like I said, those are risky trades, but we understand the risk in it. We understand what it can do. And then get the hell out. You actually wouldn't have waited for this piece. You would have got the hell out right here. Once they start to pull back like this here, you close the trade because you don't wait for this. Right? If you had put the next entry here, you would close it right in this piece here. See this consolidation, not when it goes up, but when it consolidates there. You would close it there because then that means this is going to go up. Well, now we're getting a bigger consolidation, which for us on the 1 hour could be a buy setup. And I believe we're going to get a buy setup because I just want this to come back here and like this, come back here, and that would be a perfect buy setup. Can it actually take off like this? It could. So if you think it's going to take off like that, because this could be a small 15 minutes correction or 5 minutes correction, whichever you want to look at. And you can put an entry order here and say, well, what if this is to just take off straight to the top and we're going back to make a new high? Well, you will probably want the trade. I don't think it's going to do that because if they were going to do it, they would probably do it from this point without this consolidation here. So when I see this, I'm thinking all of this consolidation is inside this move, which means this is becoming the B part of it. Come back for a C and then go. Or this is making a flat here to come back to this level. Or this here is making a flat, something like this. Come here, come here, come there, go there, make a flat here. Drop like this, go back up there, and then downside. Which is it? At this point, both of those are possible. So you just have to wait to see whether it comes here. Well, actually, if they make a flat here, you can literally, you'll have to have the skill level to go for this because they're not necessarily will come to the bottom, right? They can just break the low here and then go back there and then come down. So this sell here is a very risky one. And it will be lucky if it's a running flat. If it's a regular flat, you'll be unlucky, which means you have to be quick to get break even or accept the loss on that one. So selling inside of this is a dangerous thing. Gold. Yep. Remember I said when they start to do this slowly, if you took that trade, you got to watch these smaller ones because now turning point is coming, right? It's pulling back, go there, start to do this, you close the trade. Because at some point, this starts to make a deeper correction. Now, the question is it the deeper correction or are we trying to go back up? Let's see. I think we still have more to go. One more drop is possible. Now, this could be where it stop and go back up, right? Remember, that would still be a running flat. I think that was a question somebody asked me yesterday. What if it stops here and go back up? Would we consider it a running flat? I think Nora probably asked me that. I can't remember. But if you did, and I said, yes, that's possible, right? So if it stops here and go back up, we will still consider that a running flat. Now, is it going to go back up from there? I don't know. We don't need to know that, right? So we'll just bring it down back a little. We'll put it where we think it could come, and we'll see what happens. If it consolidates there, that's one more drop. If it actually decides to go up, we'll have to look for a flag for the buy. So on the 1 hour, you're actually getting a flag. This was kind of a flag, but you would have closed it here and put the entry above the top. So it's kind of a flag. If you take this out now, put the entry here, right? That's a very good flag for a buy. We'd have to be careful of how that goes because it's a small one, but if it takes off, you want the trade. If it comes lower, and I think it's likely going to work its way down here. If it does that, we'll look for a flat, and then we'll look for the sell, and then the upside. Now, if it's going to go down all the way without being a running flat, no problem. We'll go with it, but very likely it could be a running flat. Just be aware of that. Euro? Yep, we didn't do anything, and I think it's a good thing we didn't do anything, and we probably shouldn't do anything today. Just leave it alone. Pound? If you sold, you got break even. There was this small running flat. If you took the trade, eventually it's break even. They did come down some, I don't think quite a lot. That's how much. That would be probably less than 1-to-1 because your stop had to be here. If your stop was here and you entered the trade here, it's less than 1-to-1. So let's call it a break even trade. You will take it out for positive, but positive break even. It's not a winning trade. We're making a flag for upside there. So can we assume that we will go for this here and create a running flat? Is that assumption possible? Let's go see that. Take this out. This has no. So right now, if they make a flag here for upside, let's see what it looks like on a 15. Yep, this looks good. If they stay here, I don't like the fact that we had one here already. That's not good for the impulse. So it might be better if they come back like this and then do this and we get a flat here for a sell. That would be a better option right now than the buy. If it's a buy setup, we can take it, but we'll have to be cautious because I don't like this piece here. It's not very, you see when they have these kind of things, they don't really make a flat. They don't really go up. They actually go down. So this would most likely be downside, but slow. Aussie. Yep. Aussie was a sell. It's still break even, call it break even. And might still be a sell, but let's take this out now. That would be a break-even trade because it didn't go anywhere. If you're in the trade, you'll close it. It's still doing this. So at some point, that is either a channel for reversal or that's a running flat for downside. So which one is it? This is how we would know. I'll put it to the 4 hour. Let's see where we are in the bigger structure. Downside still possible. Well, we really haven't broken the low of this as yet, the impulse. We haven't broken the low of that impulse. So we're still pretty much in a corrective mean, which means this could still happen. Right, that could still happen, and we could still come back down from there. So the only question is whether that is going to happen or whether we're going to go down now. So let's see. I think we can give it another sell chance. We do have a lot of divergence in play. So divergence means either a deeper correction, which means something like this, a deeper correction, or a reversal. In this case, it could be both. It could be a reversal to retest the top, or a deeper correction and then drop. I really don't like this here, right? We made a lot of flats here, and then we're kind of making another one here. Let it either consolidate here. It's always consolidating under the pattern that makes it the running flat. If you're considering a running flat, we'd want it to be out of the pattern, right? I want it to be out or consolidate at the bottom. So if this consolidates into a flag here, we'll sell it. We'd assume that this is a running flat and that this is dropping. That would be the assumption, right? Because you can go in and figure it out in 5 minutes, but we'll do that in the trading room, right? Especially if I think this is going to be a YouTube, we don't want to go that level of thing where YouTube videos, the viewers there might not even understand what we're talking about. So what we're going to look for here, what if it comes back up here? Remember the rule is you can actually put an entry order here. You should put it above the last impulse, but because I'm not sure the last impulse is very, thing, we can put it, it's just close to each other, put an entry there for a buy. So that if this is a running flat and this is the end of the structure, it could literally go back up. If this is a channel, small channel in the making, this could literally go back up. We know how to trade it, and we know how impulsively they come out of the structure when they are going up, right? So this entry order is pretty valid. If it is not going to go up, you will never be tagged on that entry order. For the sell, I think we wait whether they make a flag here or not. If they make a flag here, great. If they just go back up and start to come down, well, I don't know whether we'll get a sell set up. But this here would be definitely a sell. So probably give it a few more hours and then we'll know that. New Zealand. Good. So same thing here. We're looking at two things to happen yesterday when we dropped to the level of where the structure is. Remember, just breaking the line is irrelevant. It doesn't mean anything. We wanted a sideways move when you break out, or we want a reversal. So let's see which one it is. Very similar structure to what the Aussie has, right? So they can go back once more, and especially New Zealand, because the down move is very, very corrected. It's not very impulsive, put it that way. I shouldn't say it's very correct. I should say it's not very impulsive. So this one did drop. It started to do that. So we were looking for two things: either reverse, make a flag, and then we go, or drop to the bottom here, make a consolidation here, and then we go. So this sell setup and this, if anybody was paying attention, I don't know whether you would sell this, maybe not, maybe it's too dangerous to do at that point because you don't know what this would do at the top there. Now that it break the low, if we get a flag here, we sell. Any flag that we get, we'll sell because it broke the low. That means if we broke the low, make a flag, you're going to give one more impulsive downside. So all you need here is a flag. If it is going to reverse for the upside, this is what you want to see. You want to see this go straight back up there. We want to see a flag here, and then we're all in the buy. Right? So it could do both today. Right? Or tomorrow we might get the trade. The reversal might most likely be tomorrow, because even if it reverses in 3-4 hours today, it's going to take about 6 hours to consolidate. So that's tomorrow. But it can make a flag here in 4 hours, and by New York session, we get a sell setup. 4 or 5 hours, and by New York session, we get a sell setup. Which is it going to be? I don't know. We're in this structure, and that both of those are possible. Right? We looked at this yesterday and we assume, well, both of those are possible. It could go back one more and drop WXY XZ, right? Or it could, well, WXY because we don't have divergence, and then drop to the bottom, right? So we would not call that an ABC, and this is why it's possible to go back up. Let's wait and see. We will know today, hopefully, right? If they consolidate here, we sell. If they go back up, we look for the buy. Swiss. Take it off. If you take this, you would have taken this off already more than once because it didn't go anywhere. It's still going sideways but up. So if we take the trade again, we'll probably get another break even, but you can keep doing it. I don't think it's that. If we get this, would be good. Which means if they drop here today and we get a sell setup, we'll go for it, right? If not, we'll just let it go, make running flat and probably one more up. I think that's a possibility. Running flat, one more up. We're expecting one more up, and then we're expecting this thing to drop, right? Would we get the one more up? What is the possibility that it's not going to go one more up? It's just going to crawl slightly to break this top. This thing is going to crawl up here and break the top. Can we assume that this is all the correction or that we have a contracting flat there? I think we could do that. Which means if it crawls up, break the top, we would, it might not be worth trading it. This is 3 break-even trades already at that up move, right? So what would be the best thing? Let it crawl up like this, break the top. Unless it comes back here in the go, we wouldn't buy it. So let it crawl up, break the top, and then we look for the sell setup. It's going to be a sell, right? Remember the bigger structure. Once it gets there, it's a sell. This one is pretty easy. I think this one is classical. All the correction is in this move. So this is almost close to no-brainer. We've seen that. Very rarely you find that this would take off like a rocket and it will be a long drawn-out running flat, maybe 6 months from now, right? But if that was going to happen, I think we would get better flags here for buy. We'd get correction, go, correction, go, correction. We'd get things like that, right? Rather than, you know, this small running flat that is not going anywhere. But let's see. It could be that this is going to make bigger flats, go all the way. And 6 months from now, we get this one. We'll see. We'll go back to it. We'll come back to that. Put it in the 4 hour. Right now, it's going up. There's no trade. In the 1 hour, there's no trade. Just wait. Short-term sell may be possible if it starts to make a flag. If it drops a little more, make a flag, we'll go. Can we still buy it? I don't know. We can still buy it. We'll just probably end up at break even. CAD dollar. Yep, you might be getting the sell setup now. Finally, it did go to some target there. What was the target? No, it didn't go. That was just the pullback. So now we're looking at this and thinking, is this all? Is this the takeoff, or can we still come down one more? There's still that potential. As long as we're under this, they could still come back one more here and then go. Right? That possibility still exists. It's pretty much like if you turn it around from what we have in the New Zealand and the Swiss. So they all have very similar structure. New Zealand, Swiss is coming like the New Zealand and Swiss is doing this. We have this with the potential for one more up. So we're looking for possible one more up on New Zealand and Aussie, sorry, New Zealand and Aussie. And on the Swiss, possible one more down before they go up. And this one will drop. So if they start to move, they'll probably all do the same thing, right? This would come down. We'll see New Zealand and Aussie go up, and then they will all turn direction because the patterns are pretty clear. Now, if they all go, they will all probably go. So can we look for buy setups on them if we get? Let's see the ones that has the best setups to go with. Right now, this doesn't have a very good setup. It's not the running flat as yet. This is a little too short for that. Possibly it could be, let's see. Can we look at that and say, well, that's the running flat now? Finally, maybe you can make an argument for that, yep, that's a running flat finally, and it's going to go now. So if that is the case, we need a flag. We need a 1 hour flag here and we can buy it. So let it stay here, consolidate for the next couple hours, and we'll take that buy, assuming this is going to go, right? If it, instead of consolidating, instead of they drop back to this level, go back up there, we're going to go with the sell. The sell is going to be one impulse at a time. So one impulse might be a bigger move to the downside for a bigger running flat, which is something like this, right? If this makes a flag here, you know, go back there and drop like this would be a trade, but this could be where it stop and go back up. Or maybe it's going to drop deeper, right? So we'll still have to see. This sell would be a good idea because potentially it could go one big move to the downside. Let's wait and see which one it gives us. There's a buy setup. You have 2 hours sideways. Give it 2 more hours and we can get a buy setup here. Yen. Okay, the magic works, right? So let's see. We were in the trading room yesterday tracking this on the 5 minutes and the 15 minutes. So this entry order here was when we saw this possibility. We saw the possibility for a running flat here. We said, this could possibly be a small running flat. And if that is a running flat, then the chances are they'll come break this top and then drop like this. Give us this one for a flat. That didn't happen. They actually broke the top. They came. Your entry order should be under the low. It didn't tag. It actually went up more. But what you had here, and I think if you were there, you would have seen that was a small flat here. So we have a move up. We got a small flat. We got a move up. Can we assume that we have this anywhere? It could be this one, right? So at some point, we could see this actually go back up there, break the top again, and then come down like this before they go. Now, the question is, would we sell it now? And the answer is no. We're not going to sell it anymore. The answer, I think, to that, you all know, this is YouTube. I'm not going to go there, right? But you know why we're no longer selling this to the downside if it's going to come. What we would be looking for is a buy setup once it comes down. Either this comes down a little more and give us the buy setup, or either this goes back up, come back here, and then give us the buy setup. We were looking for that buy setup on a running flat possibility. So let's see if we get it. It's pretty easy. Just wait for it now. Take this out. This would have no thing, because if this is going to make a bigger flat here, or if it is going to go back up and then come and make a bigger flat here, this would be the flat, and then we'll be looking for a buy setup. Now, if we get the buy setup, where would that lead us? I'll take this off. This was just showing the top. That wasn't a buy. We broke the top already. We're heading for this target. So if we get this running flat here today and we get that buy setup, it will probably make a few more. I don't know if we'll have a deeper one like this or a bigger one like this in the way. It's possible, but there's a good chance you might not even get that. It might just take off all the way to the top here. And once it breaks the top, we're good to go. We start to look for sell setups after that, big, longer term sell setups. We will keep buying it as long as it keeps going up. This is a weekly chart. We don't know how high it is going to go when it stops and turns. But once it stops and turns, we will start to take every sell setup. And if this gets to that top, one trader will quit trading for good. At least that's what he promised in my YouTube video. Because when I did the video, we were in this consolidation at the bottom here, and I said this thing is going to slowly work its way up to the top there, maybe with a few more corrections in it. Or somewhere even in here, I can't remember. But anyway, he wrote, if it ever does what you say it's going to do that, it's coming to the top here, he will quit trading. Good for him. Maybe he deserves quitting trading if that thing goes to the top there, because he has very little understanding of charts. Or better yet, join my group, learn to trade. That would be the better option. Don't quit trading. Just join the group and learn to trade. Let's go. Euros. Okay, we're consolidating. We got this big consolidation going on here, so we're not getting the pattern we think. We might get a much more complex one, because this now is the sharp wave down. This is the sharp wave up. This is the sharp wave down. This is becoming the consolidation. If you sold that, I don't think we sell it. We were, let me look at it, see what we're doing. Oh yeah, we were trying to sell that. If you sold that, you could have either, well, depends on where you had your stop. Your stop should be above the top, but if you did, you could either come out for a small loss, or you could have even lost the trade if you put a stop there. I'm not sure the stop should be there, but if you did, I hope you managed to close it somewhere here. That should have been a smaller loss than usual. We end up with a bigger flat now, take that there. And that turns out to be a much bigger flat. In a small one like this on the 15-minute, the stop will normally go above the top, right? Just to remind you. And the small 15-minute trade like that, we don't use this stop, we use this stop as a stop, simply because we know that that would give us the exit strategy, right? So right now we're getting a lot of consolidations in here. A move up, you got this, you get this, you're getting a bigger flat here too. And they're probably going to come back here, so we'll end up with a much bigger flat in here. And if you get a bigger flat here, you'll probably go back up, right? But that up move would only be within a correction. So this is becoming the B part of it. This whole piece here is becoming the B part. Coming back here and going back up there would be the B part in this structure. So we would come back here probably, go back up there and then drop. This would just become a long drawn out flat for downside. So all you're going to have here is a big long drawn out flat, and then you're going to get downside. Not so fast. Take this out. Not going to be as fast as this. It's going to be much more long drawn out flat. And all of that is happening in this piece. So we will have to come back down at least once. We're in a big correction here right now. See, this whole piece is making a really huge correction. It's really big, though. It's becoming much bigger than this one here, which means we'll be there for a long time. Can we trade within it? Yep, we can take small trades. Now all the trades are going to be very small. So if it moves, if you take a trade and it moves this much, 22 pips, get it to break even. Right, once, because all these trades in here are going to be very, very small trades with very, very small risk to rewards on them. You're not going to have big moves because you're in a correction. You're in New Zealand. Okay, so this one we decide we can take it, and we just put that entry to short up. That's not where you should exactly have taken it. Come back to the 15. Good. So yesterday, we didn't have this when we were discussing it. I think we were somewhere here when we were discussing it. It was going to go down. So I said, put it here. If they just drop, break this low and reverse there. But if they keep going down, remember what the rule says. You would bring that one down to the last impulse. You would bring it down to the last impulse. You would bring it down to the last impulse. So this is where your entry would have been before this goes like that. Right? Consolidate here in the 15 and then take off. So even if you put the entry here now, what you want to do is wait a little for this and then decide whether it starts to go back up or whether it's going to consolidate for you to exit. So let's see in the bigger picture what it could do. The reason we were taking that is that, well, if it takes off like a rocket all the way to the top, and that's the start of a bigger one, be good. Well, you're not getting the start of a bigger thing. You're probably going to still be stuck. This is the low, right? If we assume that this is all the correction, this is the low. It could be the start of the up move, right? We assume that that could be the start of the weekly up move with a very slow move here and the upside. But this is a very, very deep pullback. I don't think that is how you would start the up move, because if you look at this, what it looks like mostly is some kind of a correction. So you might want to close this trade, wait for a flag here, and then put an entry there to see whether that goes. That would be the better option, because this move didn't take off like a rocket. Right? So probably give it this hour to close. If it closes right to the top there, great. You might want to put the break even, stay with it. If it comes deeper, close the trade, wait for a flag, and then go. Because this is no longer, with that deep pullback, it's no longer showing a sign that it's going to go. We were expecting more of a flag here, not a deep pullback like this. But even if you still bought it, it would have been buying from this point, not from that point. So let's see which one we have. It's more going to be, I think we're just going to have a deeper correction and then downside. I don't think we're going to take off right now. It might even be a bigger running flat with this. We looked at that option as well for possibility for a bigger running flat. I think the one we looked at was an expanding, not a running, but an expanding one like this. We're looking at this expanding one and thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, come back to this level and then drop. Right? That's still an option. More like an expanding triangle. Right? That possibility exists. It could be that, or it could be we're making a running flat. Either is possible. If you separate them or if you put them together, you will get the same results. Let's see what it does. Next, Eurocad. Eurocad is the most interesting one. It did exactly what we wanted to do, which is go to the top, come back here now, and we will see if we get a buy setup from here going, or if we get a consolidation here for downside. I think it looks more like the upside, which is we would watch this to see if we get a flag here, and that would be a total buy setup. This could be the all-time low. Well, at least the yearly low on the whole structure. So we'll see. The buy would be much more interesting because the upside potentially is huge. The downside is limited. The downside could be a single drop and that's it. We broke the low already. So how low the downside go after breaking the low is anybody's guess, right? Which means it could go 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 more impulses or just a single impulse and that's it. So the sell is not so great. But if it starts to go up, the buy would be amazing because we were anticipating a move up like this. Straight back to the top there. So if we get a buy in the 1 hour, that would be very good. Let's see if we get that buy today. Euro Swiss. So Eurocad, I put it to neutral because the down move is already there. That was a sell before all of that happened. And when that happened, we just decided we're going to wait. Euro Swiss, same thing. We're expecting this to come back down here, probably drop one more, but it keeps going up. It's strange that you have this deep pullback way to the bottom and it's going up. It's not going up very aggressive. The big picture is that it could go up as well from there. Right? The bigger picture it is. After breaking this low, they can literally go back up. Especially if we assume that this was a big correction. Pretty weird one, but strange in this pattern. You can look at this as a contracting flat, maybe a contracting triangle. I don't see the triangle very clear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's possible. It's not the best setup. It's more of a flat than a triangle. And this one broke the low. So now we would either do two things. We'd either make a correction upwards and drop, or they can totally go back up. A lot of the Euro pairs has that possibility, right? So go to the 4 hour. The down move was really, really slow. Right? It didn't go very fast. They broke the low. And this is either going to be a deeper correction for downside, or I don't think this is the start of the upside. I would hardly believe that the start of the upside would be one impulse here that pulls back way back to the bottom and then go. Right? So I don't think this is a great buy at the moment. Probably buy something else with a euro or something else with a Swiss, but not the Euro Swiss. Let it go. Let it make an impulse, break out of this structure totally. And then any correction here would be a buy. Because this could be a slow start for the downside. It's also not a sell setup as yet. We don't have it. Euro pound was the other one we're looking at for the next sell. Break this top and then go down, right? 1, 2, 3, go break the top and then drop. We weren't expecting it to break the top. We're saying it's most likely to be a running flat, which means they will come to about this level and then drop. Well, they actually broke the top. We can still go with an expanding flat. Right, that is still okay. So if you get a flag here, I don't know if any one of you in the trade already. If you're in the trade, it probably would have been from here. So if not, you can close that one. You can also look for this 1 hour flag. They're making a 1 hour flag here. If this becomes a 1 hour flag, it's a perfect sell setup. So this is one, let it do more like this. And if we get this, we'll go for that sell. It could be smaller than that, but we will go for the sell. And that sell should break this low, and maybe we'll see how far it goes. Euro yen. Okay, same thing. We're expecting this to eventually break down if we get a flag here. This could still go up one more, right? They could still climb this more, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if this goes back up. Would we buy it to the top there? I think that's a bad idea. We bought this and it's a break even, right? We saw 1, 2, 3, and we bought this, it's break even. I think we bought this one. This one probably you closed for a small profit, but not very big profit, right? So for traders who are watching this in YouTube, at the weekly outlook, we showed you this possibility to buy this, right? So, you know, that didn't go very far. It closed, we re-enter, it closed, it's not going well. So we're expecting the sell setup here now, which means if we get a flag here today, that becomes a perfect sell setup. Something like this, see that flag there? If we get a flag like that here, that would be a perfect sell setup. Let's see if we get it. We only have 1 hour sideways, that's not a flag. Pound Oz sideways, it's not, it's kind of, we could also make an argument that it's going to come down from this point, right? That it's going to come down from that point. You could make an argument for this, I don't know, this is the flat here, this piece or this piece here as a flat. That's the top and it's coming down because big picture is downside, right? A bigger picture of this is downside. We got this flat here. You can make an argument for this running flat and downside. So if we get a sell setup, should we take it? I think we should take it. If we get a sell setup here, depending how and where we get it, it might be worth looking for a sell here. The buy is not ready, so there's no buy setup as yet. They will have to come and break the low and then go back up before we get the buy. Pound New Zealand. So this would have been a sell to come down a little, and then the buy, or was it the? I think this was the sell that you probably would have closed. We were selling this small flag here, and you had enough time to get out of it because it didn't go anywhere. We have this here looking like a bigger running flat. I think that's what we were selling it for. It's either contracting flat or they'll come back like this for a running flat here and then go. So close the trade. Let's see. We didn't get into the buy. I don't see any buy there. You wouldn't have got the buy setup in any case. This is the running flat. And we broke the top. What happens when you break there? Let's see. Nah, that wasn't the top. That was the sell on this one. That was the sell of this flag from breaking this low. So now they have to tell us if they're going to break out of the structure. We're expecting either a break out of the structure and go back, break out of the structure and go back to the top, retest the top, or come down from that level, 1 more drop. Right? It's possible. You have an impulse, a correction, an impulse, impulse, correction, impulse. Let's see. Is it going to drop or is it going to go back? 4 hour. Looks very corrective. 1 hour. Well, this doesn't look very corrective, but we do have divergence, right? So you got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we wait and see what happens there. Let's wait and see what this does. Either reverse, give us a flag and we'll sell, or consolidate. It will have to be a bigger consolidation here, right? Not a small one, but a bigger consolidation. If you get a small flag like this there and you buy, it might just be part of a move. So if they make a small flag here, we can take the trade, but caution, it might be just 1 more impulse up, not the big move up. If we're lucky, that will be take off to the upside, but I think it's unlikely. This has a lot of corrections in it. Let's see. We get a flag, we buy it. With reverse, we look for the sell. Pound CAD. So we'll take out this on the sell now. We'll wait for it. Pound CAD came down. Perfect. We should start to look for a buy setup. Let's see if we get a buy setup to the upside. I like the idea for the buy now because we've got a perfect flat there. So let's see. There is no buy setup in it right now. Can we sell this if it's going to drop? I think we broke the top, so I'm not looking for the sell. If we didn't break the top, we could possibly look for that, but we broke the top. No, we didn't break it. We just missed breaking it, maybe. I still don't like the idea of the sellers yet. It has to be a very perfect flat before we sell it. If we're going to assume that this is a correction for downside, then not just the C wave down, but the total downside, then we would have to see a perfect flat pattern here before we sell. Because this is a sharp pullback. If we get a flag here, it's actually a buy setup for the top. Let's see if we get the flag. Pound Swiss. Okay, we're in a big consolidation here now. So you've got 1, 2, 3. This is going up. It should break that top. We assume it will break this top. This will become the flat. And then we'll get this move down. All right? So we'll be in a big flat pattern for the upside. This here would be a big flat correction. Probably come here, come back down here, and then upside. You'll get this big flat. And then upside. So we might even get a sell setup here. There might be a short-term sell setup in that. Go back to the 1 hour. Let it break the top first. It has to break this top here. Go break that top and then look for the downside. That would be the perfect flat pattern there. Hong Yen. Okay, so we take this out because it went back to the top. So if it was a flag yesterday, we said we were here. If this remains a flag here, we're selling it. If it crawls back to the top, this could be more of a flat for one more up. So it's the sell is off. The buy is actually in play. So I'll put it like this. We can wait for this to come down some more. Take this off. We can wait for this to come down some more here. And then look for this trade up. Now, the question we'd have is whether this is all the correction or whether this with the big flat in the middle is 1, 2, 3. Come back here and then go. Can we be doing this? Making a bigger pattern there. I think that's quite possible, but we will go with the buy. And then we'll see what happens if they make a bigger correction in here. This would turn out to be a really big one because you have an impulse up. If this is an impulse down, this comes here, go back there, come back down here. It will have to go back there and then you'll get this pattern here for downside. So pretty good. Let it come down here. We look for this buy. Then we look for this sell. And we look for that. Let's see. As the pieces develop, we'll see whether they're confirming the pattern we assume it's going to make. Let it come a little lower, then we buy it. Then we look for the buy. Aussie Yen, can you sell that, by the way? Can you sell it? Well, those of you who are in the 5 and 15 minutes, if you get a flag there, a small flag would be a sell. A little dangerous, but a sell. Aussie Yen, pretty much what I'm looking for in the Pong Yen. See this one already, it went up to the top, see that? And it dropped to the bottom. So the Pong Yen is here, which means you still have to get this drop on the Pong Yen. The Aussie Yen already completed that drop. So take this out. And this is the top. It's a running flat. We actually broke the top. And now we're looking at it this way, right? You've got 1, 2, 3. This is the top of it. And you have this move into it, right? So this has to go back up. If it goes like this, that'd be perfect. We'll be looking at this. Is it the bigger correction or is it upside? What's the bigger thing in picture in this? Well, it could be upside if you're assuming that this is the first impulse in that correction downwards, right? It could be a little more up. This could definitely go a little more up and then come down, pretty much like this. So it will be a correction more deeper up before they come down. They do have a lot of running flats in this as well. So that possibility exists. The upside is limited, but it's a buy. We can go for the buy, but it's limited to the upside. But it's a big way, it's a big move because you have to correct all of this. We're trying to correct all of that. So we'll at least get an impulse. If you get it buy setup, get an impulse like this. I don't know, you take the breakout of the top, or if you get it earlier in here, we can take that earlier from the 15 minutes. Yep, if you get an earlier entry from this point, it would be perfect. We can go with that and then see where this takes us. We're expecting at least one more impulse up, and then we'll see what happens. Aussie CAD. Okay, so it did come down from this level, and we're breaking out. So wait for flags and sell. What's the bigger picture in this? Let's see what the bigger picture is. The bigger picture is actually upside. Sorry. Once you break this low, which is what we were expecting. Once you break this low, you have a flat in the middle to go back up, right? So you got this flat. We're expecting this move up now, right? To make that flat. So it's actually from this point, it's actually looking for an up move, not a down move, because this one is off, right? So this would be this move down. This is a bigger flat, and then we'll get another move down. So put it back on the 15. We can look for buy setups, not the sell setup. You look for the reversal and the buy setup. We probably broke this low already. If not, let it break the low and then look for the reversal. Aussie Swiss. That's a break even if you took the buy, because it was there for many, many hours, right? If you took this buy and this one, It went there, pulled back, went back up, stayed there, you close the trade. If it stays there so long, you close the trade. We come back, we look at this piece, because you're consolidating here. And then if you're consolidating here, we're gonna make a bigger flat. This becomes the move down. This is your consolidation. You're gonna go back up here, retest the stop, come back here, make a bigger flat, go back up there, make a bigger flat, and then downside. So do we want to trade in this piece here? I think no, until they break this low and start the up move, then we might get a buy setup here. All the rest of this is gonna go back up because there's the flat in the middle, right? This is the flat in the middle. You still have to get this one up. And you still have to get this one down. So this up and this down is not, I don't think we'll trade it. We'll skip the trading on that. Maybe this one up, if you get a nice flag like you have here, that could be a trade. And then the downside would be a trade after you do that. We're in a big consolidation. Aussie, New Zealand. Okay, so the buy, we had two options yesterday for the buy. Either an entry above the top, or if it dropped lower, made a flat, I don't think you will have a chance to put an entry above this because it dropped and pull back immediately. So the best place would be here. And if you don't, if you didn't have an entry out there, wait for this to make a flag and then buy that flag. So what's the big picture? Upside, right? Come back and retest the stop. This is the structure. You're in this one, right? Go back, retest that top, and then downside. That would be your flat pattern, right? Perfect. So if you get a flag and you're getting a flag there right now, go for this trade. Now remember, this thing moves slow. Rare cases where it moves really fast. Most times it moves slow. So if you're going to trade it, you have to be aware of that. Canadian, still a perfect one, right? Still upside. That has not changed. So what was the option? If this was going to drop, put an entry order under this low. Most likely we thought it was this and it's going to go. So what you're supposed to do, move this top, move this 15, you're supposed to move this upwards. We saw this move here, but when we saw it, we were already here, right? I think we were already here. And it's going, I said they can do a few more of this, but do you want to buy? Because the buy at that point wasn't that interesting. So what we're looking for is a 1, 2, 3, and now you look for the sell. This was a perfect sell. Anybody got that sell? From here, you're supposed to move it to this one and then to this one. And then, of course, when you see that, you take that trade, right? So let's take this off. Any one of you guys were there when that happened? If not, wait for another flag. Wait for a flag here and then we'll sell it. Wait for a flag here. And then we're selling this because we have 1, 2, 3. That's a perfect flat. Look for a sell setup here and go for the trade, right? It is still upside. The big picture still looks upside according to this, but we've seen these patterns that went slow, and then you get a sudden fall because this is a weekly top, right? We looked at the weekly top where they go very slow. You figure out that they're running flat in the middle or something, and then you go for the drop. So this is a nice sell setup actually here today. So let's put it for the sell. That short term was the short term buy to the top there, right? So now we're going to go with the sell. And let's see if we get it. Put it in the 1 hour. We just need about 4 or 5 candles sideways here, and that's a good sell setup. Actually like the idea. The 15 might be even faster to wait for the sideways. Can it go make a new high? I think it can. I don't still think it's a buy. Right, then this flat, I would not buy that one. At least not within the structure and the top of the structure. So Sian. Okay, take this out. It's a running flat now. It's not just a regular flat. We were thinking that this could drop one more to this level, and it didn't. So now the argument what we had was whether we think this was the top, right? Or whether this was a flat. Well, it looks like this might have been a flat and they actually made a new high. So we can, or whether this was the running flat, right? I think we were also looking at whether this was the running flat possibility. If this is the running flat, I can see why this makes a new high. We can go with 1, 2, 3, confirm a flag here, and we're in the sell, right? So we can pull this like this, assuming that was the running flat. Let's go with that assumption that we had, because there were 2 or 3 of them that had the running flat in it, right? So let's assume that is a running flat. One was the CAD, which played out perfect. The CAD running flat played out perfect. It was the running flat going up. The Swiss yen played out, not as perfect as the CAD, but it played out. So what you want to confirm that now. Remember, you still have to be careful here, because this could still be a big, crazy flat, and we still go up and then come back, make a running flat. It could still be as extended as this, right? So you're always looking for that confirmation for the sell. So what would be the confirmation for the sell today for us? Same thing, like we didn't sell this yesterday because we were waiting for that confirmation. We wait for this. And if we get that there, that becomes a perfect sell setup. How much hours we're there? Let's see. Just about 3 hours already. If you take the low, it's 3 hours. If you don't take the low, it's 1 hour, right? So it's actually there 1 hour sideways, because this small one is within this down move. So you start from the red, and from the red going, it's only 1 hour. So let's give it 2, 3, 4 hours more. And if we get this by New York session, we look for a sell. Can they go back up like that? We don't have a buy setup. You're not buying this assuming they're going to do that, right? New Zealand yen. Okay, this one just made a big flat and drop. It's still within the channel. If we get a buy setup, we can go for it. You didn't get the sell setup, that's for sure. It just dropped, right? That was not a sell. It just dropped, but you're still within the channel. So if they're going to go back up, they're going to go back up 2 ways. Either they're going to go back up again like this and drop, or they're going to go back up like this. What do we normally do? We put an entry order above the top. Last impulse down. That is if you get that sudden sharp move to the upside. That's it, right? That is if they do this. Sorry, something like this. That's my key, my mouse hitting the keyboard and it just went sideways. Yeah. So we're looking for this up. But what if they actually go slow? But if they go slow, it might be a consolidation. But if they do this and give you a flag here, can we take it, see if that is the upside or if this becomes a consolidation? In both cases, you would probably get positive. You get break even on the sideways, and you will get a good trade on the upside. Right? New Zealand Swiss. Yep, this one didn't break out. It made a new low, so that means we have a bigger correction. We just extend the correction. We're still in this huge correction. And it might be a more complex one than we thought. We'll have to relook at that possible flat pattern, because this might be a bigger one for a more complex pattern. Let's see, let's just put it like this and keep it. And wait for that buy setup. Right, we don't have a buy setup as yet, but that is likely what you're going to get, right? So we have this sharp move. We get a corrective structure here. They made a sharp move. This looks very corrective. Although it's coming down, it's looks very corrective. So I still think there's a chance we do one more up and then come down. Right, there's still that chance for that one more. But let's see. Do we have a sell setup if this is going to drop? Well, not at the bottom. If you wanted to sell it, you'd probably sell this flag. There's a flag there, not the pullback, but the flag. You'd probably close it for break even. It didn't go anywhere, and that would be a break even trade. So useless. Let's wait. CAD Swiss, we're waiting for the buy. CAD Swiss, nothing here. Can it go back up to the top, make a bigger one? Let's take this out. Can we make a bigger flat here by going back to the top here? Can make an argument for that, that's a bigger flat. We've had those cases. So this could be a short-term buy back to the top there. It's a flag, so you can probably go for a short-term buy. It's more of a one-to-one risk to reward, maybe even less than that. The more the flag get bigger, the higher the probability of coming and breaking that up. New Zealand CAD. Oh, this was looking great for a buy. This had a perfect setup and then it just dropped. Well, let's see what we have here. Take this out. We're still, let's go with this. Since we broke the low, we'll put that trend line. Take this out. This is very sharp. If you look at it this way, this is really sharp. This down move is very, very, very corrective. So there is a chance you'll have to at least do this and then come back here. we'll look at this as a possible running flat. I think that makes sense. Even if we're going down, so let's assume this was the first move to the downside. This was the flat, right? You can go with this here was the flat. 1, 2, 3 up. So if this makes a bigger flat here, which is the equivalent of this, then we would expect this to come down here. Where would we be in a bigger picture of it? Yeah, that's a difficult one because you're going to actually come here, you're going to come back here, and that could still be a flat for upside. Or that could still be just a bigger flat for upside. So let's see if we have any buy setup. No, but we can get a buy setup. I think it's very likely to get a buy setup. Would we sell if we get another flag here? Yeah, it's worth taking it. If this turns out to be a flag, you can sell, but with the intention that it might be just one drop. Take your profit off. If we get a reversal here, which means if we get this and a flag here, we're buying it back to that top. We'll go with a running flat because this was classical corrective. And then it dropped, it made another flag here and drop again. The sell, maybe not. I probably would have sold it here. Sell something else, but not this one. Same here, we're going sideways, but up. So there might be a small buy setup here for this to finish this move here. And then look for the downside. Because we're in this running flat here. And I think this is more of a contracting flat here. Right, so this should go back to the top there and then come down. Let's see. We definitely not selling it where it is. Okay, so the upside did work. If you actually went for this trade here for the breaking of this top, turned out very good. It turned out better than we expected, but it's making the running flat finally, which is the bigger running flat. That is this one. 1, 2, 3. So there's probably one more trade to the top there. Right, that's a big running flat we were looking for. And when they started to do this, we said, well, they could come here and then drop one more and then go, but they actually just took off. So if you took this small trade, you got really lucky there. That was a small buy, right? And if you took that, you got really lucky because it went up. So now you get one more impulse to the top. You'd have to decide whether you want this trade, because I don't see that as the best risk to reward. Your stop has to be here. The chances are when they get to this top, they can literally drop. We're looking at this running flat. Right? That is a possibility we're looking at. And from there, downside one more before they go up for a bigger correction. What are the chances this actually break through straight through the top and go? Possible. Take the trade, that's a possibility. But for us to buy it, we'll have to let them break through this top and consolidate here before you go with the buy. That would confirm. If you didn't get this one you can take it. You just have to be careful here. At that point, put it to break even. Let the trade be a break-even trade. And then on the downside, we go for the sell. Same here. And the same pattern. You had this flat here for one more up. And it did go one more up. This one might be a better buy. But this one is not so far. Right, this one is a smaller one, and you can get a move like this. Right, we're looking at this move here to come. So, and then downside before they go back up. Right, we're in a big sideways move, and we're assuming that this is a running flat. That's just the assumption for now. And it could be. So the buy here is a better one than the buy in the UK one. Natural gas. If you took the buy, close the trade, put the new entry. You take this buy, close the trade somewhere here. If you haven't closed it, let it go back there, close it, put an entry above the top. We're looking for another buy. But the entry, because it could come down, they could still come back down one more, right? So go for it. Just take it. Do you see this one they just dropped? We assume this is going to go, but what if it drops one more? That's okay. It could. And they could do that for quite a number of time before they go up. So put the entry above the top. US 30. Okay, we're starting to consolidate sideways channel. That's upside. When you started to make these channels, two things you're thinking about: running flat and channels. Right? Running flat and channel. Channels are upside, running flats are downside. Channel, you put an entry over here. Running flat, if you get a sell setup, you could sell it. if you get a small sell set up on the way down, it means if this comes here and make a flag, you sell to break the low, right? And then you take it off. What would be the change of this totally dropping? It has to break through the low, make a flag outside of it, and then go. That's the rule, right? Let's go. S&P 500. Yep, it came down, but that we're considering that this could be a running flat. That's our assumption. So this could go back up. That could be a buy setup. You're probably getting a buy setup there right now. I did made a low. It's making a flat. That's a good buy setup actually. You're getting a flag here, and this was the low. So that's a buy setup back to the top. If the running flat is as we think it is, which is this piece, I think we were looking for the equal of that, and we literally got it almost equal. See, so take that out. Make the assumption that we have a running flat here. Let's make the assumption that this here was a running flat, and with that flag in play, you can take the buy. Since we got a flag here, that's a perfect buy setup. Same here. It came down a little more, so the question is, can that be a running flat? I think we discussed this yesterday. Could it be a running flat also, or could it be dropping totally? So this is what we said you do. You wait, right? Waiting to see whether this here would come, make a flat here. If you get a flat here, that's a buy. What was that one for? Let's see. I would think there wasn't any setup for a buy there, so that wasn't the buy setup because you didn't have any impulse in it. That would mostly be something for a sell. Was it something else in the 15? Let's see. No, there was no buy setup anywhere there. You just had
I
this
think
one.
you said to put the stop there. That's why you have the line there.
The stop for which one?
Because I think someone was in the cell.
Okay, yes, somebody was in the cell from the top here, right? And I said, put the stop here. And then when you closed it, yes, put the entry order under the low again, right? Yeah, I think, yeah, remember, thank you. Somebody was in the cell and I said, move the stop because this could possibly go back up for the running flat. If it takes you out there, what do? Put your entry order under the low. If you put your entry order under the low and it drops again, close the trade here. So great. I was wondering what the hell is that line doing there? It doesn't make sense. Thank you. Remember that, yes. So now we look for the buy here. If this makes a flag, that's a good buy because potentially the reason we wanted to close there because it could be a running flat and this could still be a running flat. I still think we're dealing with a running flat here, like we have on the other one, which is this and this. So this flag is a good buy setup. It's a very good buy setup because if that is a running flat, it could go really fast. And we have two of them, right? This one is more conforming a running flat, right? You can see all the big corrections in here. And let's go NASDAQ, PayPal, let's go. Yep, thank you, Johan. I almost forgot about that one, yes. So PayPal will probably drop a little more, but you have to be careful with the sales now. It's consolidating here. It will probably drop one more, but you have to be careful because remember we broke the low already, which means this thing could start to go back up anytime, right? I don't think this is a deeper one, very deep one, because we came back to the top. If we had stopped here, then yeah, this could be a big reversal. But right now, because we came back to the top, we'd assume this. Amazon is doing something here that we thought we had a perfect flat for upside. It did break the top, but then it came back down and it's doing this. What the hell is that? This could be a bigger flat here. Possibly, especially if you come back here and then go. But why do you need a flat when you just broke out of a flat? Unless we're channeling for a big drop. Somebody's exiting trades for a very big drop. Let's see if there's a big drop coming. Well, why not? I mean, basically, why not? There's a lot of consolidation here, so a bigger drop could be in play. Or is that just one big correction right now in play as a running flat? Can we look at this as a possible bigger running flat in play? This is what we have, right? So let's go back at that in daily. It could be a channel. It could be a running flat. It could be an ending diagonal. all will have similar structure. So let's say you go one, this is the correction, one up, you get a correction back to this level here, then you get one more up, you get another correction back here and one more up. And that would be something like, well, if we count this, I wouldn't count this. I'll start from here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that is a big drop if that happens. An ending diagonal and a channel would have a similar looks, except one would be squeezing and one would be parallel. I think something like that is happening. And if we start to see that weakness, we know it is a big drop coming, right? But let's see, because it's not making sense that we don't have that big impulse going up. Something is wrong. I think this will come back down. Because if we're looking at this move here, and all of this went up, there's a chance it's going to come back here and then go. So let's see if we get sell setups here. You can see that the buys are not really a great idea because they're not trying to make big impulses to the upside. And let's see. Okay, DAX, the sell is ready. I hope somebody took it. We called the sell twice yesterday. Right, so this was the sell. That was a small one. Put your entry under the low, ready to go. Take your profit off, but wait for another setup. Right? If you did take your profit off, wait for this to finish. See, this is a flat. This is a nice one, by the way. You've got an impulse. You've got an impulse. You're getting a flat. You would want another impulse here. You'd want to pull back here, and then we got a perfect sell setup. Boom. Right, just like this one. Put your entry, go for it. Drop, flag, drop, bigger flag, drop. Next flag, drop, bigger flag, correction. And it's going to keep going like that. So can we go very far down? I think so. This is the top, right? I think that's the all-time top. So if we get a big correction here, which is what we think we're heading for, we're going for the sell. Same here. Aussie 200, stay away from it. It has to go up first. It's not going up, right? They have to go up this piece and then probably look for the sell. It's kind of going up now. Let's hope that one goes. It's too slow. Nifty. Okay, you're getting a bigger correction in Nifty, but it's more of a correction right now. Do we have hourly flags or buy or sell? Not really. It's more of a correction. So let's see what it looks like. It's starting to look more like this one, especially if you get some pullback here. Could it be that this is a flat and we're trying to go up? Possible. Wait for a flag here. More of a something like this for the buy, or something like this. Wait for that flag and then take the buy, if that is it. If it's going to come back, make a flat, you will see. Hey, you're getting a sell setup here. Let's consolidate here, and then it's going to drop one more. Reliance. You're getting a buy setup, either for a deeper pullback or totally upside. So you could get something like this happening, or you could be totally going up. So the buy setup is a bit on. Tesla is coming down again. So we're going to have a more complex pattern here in Tesla, right? So strange. It's supposed to come down at this point, really. If it's coming down back, it's just going to be a big flat for me. Right, so take this off. If this comes down from this point, take this off as well. It didn't break the top. We're waiting for a flag at the top. It didn't. If that consolidates, it means we still haven't got this one yet. This sharp move is still not there. I'll take this out. We thought this could be it, but I don't think that is it because you're making more of a consolidation here. So go back to the 1 hour. Let it come down. It's more of a flat. This would be more of a flat if this comes back to this level. If this comes back here, that would be a flat for upside. And it means we still haven't got the big sharp one. So if you actually get a flag here, you can go for this trade and then look for the buy. Could this go back up from there? Well, you can buy it. That's not a buy setup. Let it go. And there we've got, it's not making a buy setup as such, right? It's consolidating, but it's not a buy setup. You're getting a consolidation like this. Probably if you want to put an entry order there with a stop here and hope that that's a running flat, that could work. It might be worth taking, assuming that you're making an extended running flat here at this piece. I think you can make an argument for that. Put an entry above the top or somewhere else where you like it and go for this impulse up. It might go now. And let's see, Bitcoin. Yep, still consolidating, still downwards. Like I said yesterday, or I think it was Sunday when we were here, if this comes down deeper, either that is all the correction or we're still making a correction. So this looks like it could make another correction here and drop again. Yep, it's coming down. So look for sell setups, I think it makes sense. If you're coming down, look for sell setups. And we'll gauge it two places. Like I said, we'll gauge it at this level here. And then we'll gauge the breakthrough. Why you want to watch it at those two levels? Because of this could still come here and go back one more up, right? Or they break through it and now you get this one, which is what we were expecting. If we're going to get that, I want to see consolidation here, a bigger consolidation for the drop. So let's see which one. Well, it actually came back from 69 to 56. Which is a good drop, by the way, after breaking the top. So it can go back up. Let's see, just have to watch for the flags here, look for the 1 hour flags and go for the sell. Ethereum, definitely a sell. It's just confirmed that sell now, once it came down back here, right? That downside just confirmed a sell. So this would eventually drop one more, at least one more. Let's see where that could go. Yeah, let's take it one at a time. There's going to be one drop here, and then we'll see whether they continue. Because remember, this one was the one I thought that's going to drop. It dropped one more, and then they went up. So if this drop one more, can it actually go back up like that, making this the running flat and not necessarily this one? It's possible. If that's the case, then they'll come back here and we're going to have a long extended running flat in the making. So let's see. At least we know I'll put one more here for this. There is one more sell setup coming, and then you will decide whether you get a buy setup or not. All right, one more sell at least. And then we'll see what happens from that point. XRP, yes, it's consolidating. That would be downside. This is what. This is the only one, like I keep saying, that doesn't have to go down, but it's going down slowly. We don't know how far it's going to go before you get a sharp pullback, and you will get a sharp pullback. See the sharp move here. So at some point, this will come, and then give you that sharp pullback to complete this pattern and then drop. So if you're selling this, you have to be very, very careful. We're going to consolidate here some more and then drop. And from this point, they could either go back up or they'll break through. Yeah, they can go back up. We don't have divergence. Dash. Okay, so we broke it. We didn't break the low. So I still expect them to go some more because we haven't broken the low. Could it be they're going to go back up from here for an expanding flat in the middle? It's possible. I don't see the buy setup as yet. This is an incomplete pattern here. I wouldn't consider this the buy. Right? It doesn't make sense. So let's wait and see. Let it consolidate more, then we'll decide. Okay, if you sold it at this point, you may want to close it and wait for this to go back up and then take the trade. Or you can put an entry order under the low, assuming this would be a running flat if they break the low here. I think you'll get a running flat because this consolidation is huge in here. LRC. Okay, this broke the top, but it didn't drop. So we wanted it to break this top and then drop. It broke the top, it hasn't dropped us yet. They came pretty high. If they go a little higher, if this goes a little higher here and come back, we'd assume that this here is a flat for upside. So you can pull the sell from now. The sell is not valid. And we wait to see which one they give us. You don't have a buy at the top there. I don't think that's a good idea. LTC. We can get a sell setup here. That's a sell, but for one drop, because there's a possibility that you could end up with a running flat like this. So take this one, put it to break even and see if that is a total drop or that's a small drop. What's the big picture? Downside. A lot of downside too. Because if this is the move we are going for, then this would likely go very deep. See daily? Yep. It could go very deep, which means we could end up coming back to about this level. Let's see. possible. So go for the sell. And the last one. Consolidating also within this range. You actually broke out of this. So we made that move. We get this, we're making that. This is the next correction. You're making one more move here. And then from there, we'll see whether they actually go back up or they break through that structure. So we're in this structure here, right? When we get to this level, we can either go back up one more, assuming that's a big flat, running flat. It's very likely a big running flat. I think we're going to go back up because I'd look at that clearly as a big running flat. I would go with this as a big running flat, which means we can come here and go back up. This was an expanding flat. This was just a correction here. You could make an argument for that. You could make an argument for, I don't know where you put this. This one is sharp, this was sharp, that was sharp. But this is the low, so you'd have to go with that. Right, then you kind of get these moves going up. Big flat, they'll probably come up some more. Well, there's a lot to the top, so they can still go a lot more upside before they actually turn down. See, this is the top, so we can get, this is a correction, right? We're in the correction. So I wouldn't be surprised if this comes here, go back up like this, right? And then come down for the big drop, which is this 1, 2, 3. Right, so this is just sideways move and then drop here. Can this go back all the way to the top there? Yeah, it's possible, but this would be a big flat. I really think that looks like a big running flat for upside. So keep your eyes on it, short move down and then start looking for the buy setup. Okay, guys, I will stop there. I'll close the room because we want to record the process. We're going to put this out on YouTube. Once again, please remember to go like, share, comment. And I would come back in the room immediately. I'll be back in the trading room immediately. So you guys can join back immediately. I'll see you there. Take care. See you in a second.